Hi, everyone. Welcome to Early Childhood Humanities for this week. Here we are this week talking about Chapter 13 and the assignment to the children's show that will be due next Wednesday evening. Due this week then are the Chapter 12 quiz and this assignment, the adult intervention and aggressive behavior. So the children's show assignment, we'll open this up in here and take a look at. We're talking in this chapter today in chapter 13 about pro-social behavior. Is for you to watch a children's television show that you think has some pro-social content, and we'll talk about what that is here in the chapter. But as you watch it, what did you find out? What did you discover? Do you have any recommendations or changes for the early childhood program based upon what you saw? And then answer the questions here. So what is the name of the program you watched? What time did it air? What time of the day? Was it morning, afternoon, evening, etc.? What channel was it on? What did you find out about the show in regards to the pro-social content? So if it's a show that you have seen before, maybe you kind of have an idea on what you're going to find, that yes, it was very appropriate. It did have the type of pro-social behavior that you thought. Kind of elaborate on that. Or maybe it's a show you thought had pro-social behavior, but it ends up not being the way you thought it would be. Talk about that. And then what recommendations would you have in regards to any changes or continuation or anything like that in regards to this show and its pro-social content? Okay, so take a look at that, upload that, type it up into Word document. It doesn't have to be very long. It's probably going to be between a page and half a page, something like that in terms of response. And so chapter 13, like I said, talks about pro-social behavior. What is pro-social behavior? So those are behaviors for that young kids or even us through adults have that are voluntary actions aimed at helping somebody else or doing something that benefits somebody else and not ourselves. So what is the benefits of pro-social behavior? I don't think these are any surprises to you all, but we get satisfaction from that, competence and perceptions of competence from others, provides an entrance into different social groups, social situations with our peers, promotes ongoing relationships, because if somebody does something nice for us or helps us, we want to be friends with them, hang out with them, continue a relationship with them. Allows us to increase popularity amongst peers when you are typically nice or help others. We get that reciprocation back in regards to receiving help from somebody else. It does show that it is an increased academic performance if students are pro-social, and typically leads to a positive overall group atmosphere. That could be classroom atmosphere component as well. So those are important pieces and important benefits of promoting pro-social behavior and being so pro-social behavior. Okay, so what are the ways that we can help kids to be pro-social? Okay, so pro-social is it's voluntary, right? That we're not forcing someone to do it, but there are opportunities for us as teachers to set up situations where students can act pro-socially. Okay, so helping students to recognize the need. Okay, is there a need to help? Does it look like there is a need to help? What does the situation look like? And deciding to help. So we recognize there's a need, or a child recognizes there is a need. Next thing is, should they help? Okay, so deciding to help is the next step, right? Do I want to help or assist in this type of situation? Or can I help? Sometimes there are instances where a child or a person may not want to assist, or maybe they can't help in a certain situation because maybe they're physically not able to, cognitively not able to, whatever it might be. So the assisting part, okay, what would be helpful? Okay, so I decided that I'm going to help. Okay, what can I do? Okay, take action, get into it, and how was it received? Okay, it's an important part. The receiving part is important because it's not every child or person wants help necessarily. So we have to gauge on how it was received. Maybe it was genuine and the people, the other child appreciated it, needed it, or maybe they did not want it and were kind of put back or put off by it. And so typically in regards to what motivates us or what motivates children to be active participants or part of this pro-social behavior is that sometimes there are rewards involved with that, right? We do that to avoid certain types of punishments, working to follow the directions of others. Someone is in some kind of personal distress or struggling to do something and we want it to end, so we just help out. It's also altruistic, meaning that we just do it unselfishly. We do it because it's the right thing to do, or we feel comfortable doing it in regards to helping others and being unselfish about it and not expecting anything returned. So there's different motivations for this pro-social behavior. So this type of thing in regards to obtaining rewards might be something that we would do as teachers if students are struggling to be pro-social or don't know how to be pro-social. Sometimes we have to provide initial motivation to do that. And so what are some influences on pro-social behavior for children and even us as well? So there's some genetic, right, or biology components in regards to that pro-social behavior. Some of it is just part of who people are, right? And it depends a lot on temperament of the child. Remember that conversation or that discussion on temperament, and you know, what the comfort level is of the child, the reaction to things, right? And then age and gender are also going to play a role. The more mature we get, or the older we get, the more mature we get, and the more understanding we are of this pro-social behavior. And the gender piece, typically girls will dive into pro-social behavior before boys will. And then the rest of these components, right, in regards to the social cognitive understanding, what is the situation, when, you know, when socially do we do things? And so the age and the development and the growth of a child has is a big piece of this social cognitive understanding. And then the other influences here are the language and the language use of a child, social experiences, cultural experiences, and the adult behavior they experience plays a key role in that pro-social behavior. So the more they experience pro-social behavior in their day-to-day or social settings will lead to them following that model or that pro-social behavior. Same with in cultural expectations. And as well as adult behaviors and the response to those. So a lot of social aspects here. Okay? So there's different environments that help to promote pro-social behavior. Okay, so we can set this up in our classroom. Okay, so we expect or anticipate that everyone will do their best to support one another, no matter what. If someone's struggling, if it's a competition for something, are going to support each other as best as possible. Okay, both adults and children contribute to decisions made, practices, and procedures. Okay, so we're all engaged and part of some decisions that have to be made in the classroom. Okay? Communication is direct, clear, and mutual. Okay, we're not hiding anything. We're not trying to make it, you know, the students interpret something. It's going to be very direct and clear. And that's, of course, with young children, the best way to do almost anything is to have that direct, clear communication piece. And any individual differences that are brought out, that we're aware of, will need to be respected. All right. All the expectations of the children, whatever it is that you're doing in that environment, are reasonable and not too difficult, not super easy. People like one another. People like one another and feel a sense of belonging to the group. You can't make everyone like each other, but a lot of times with young children, this is going to be okay. But you might have some instances where students don't get along for whatever reason. So you don't have to make them like one another, but there has to be at least a respect that they have to you know, get along. Understand or respect differences of opinion, you know, those types of things. Okay? And so that sense of belonging, though, is important in regards to being part of the group or part of the class. So also, last thing here, emphasis on group as well as individual accomplishments. So doing things individually is good, but doing things as a group or a whole are good as well. So those are important things to be aware of. Okay? Okay, so different ways that we can also include students or provide opportunities, activities for students to practice these pro-social behaviors. So discuss the value of pro-social behaviors, provide examples, model it for the students, or provide an example, discuss an example, a video example, whatever that might be. Illustrating pro-social principles with stories and song is another great way to do that. So of course, young children love songs and stories. So incorporating that into a story time is a good way to do that. And then using props when you're doing that, those demonstrations or modeling is another good opportunity to do that. Role playing. So besides us modeling the pro-social behavior, having the students role play, get involved with it, act it out type thing. Cooperative games, creating opportunities for children to help or cooperate in real life situations. So those are important opportunities as well. So helping out at an event, for example, where they are maybe doing some volunteering or sharing or whatever it might be. You can have your class or have your children help out at an event. It could be at your school, at your Head Start center, whatever it might be, but they can help in those situations. Okay. So strategies to teach sharing, for example. What does sharing look like? Demonstrate that, okay, model that. Suggesting options from which kids can choose. So sometimes kids don't know what to do in certain situations in regards to sharing. Okay, so what can what are some options? Give them 2 or 3 different options that they can do. Okay, pointing out or instances of sharing when they occur. Okay, so paying attention to this pro-social behavior of sharing. Hey, I really like the way that you shared that toy with Frank. Or everyone in class, did you notice how Frank was sharing with Lizzie or whatever it might be? So pointing those things out is a good way to do that. And then of course, reading stories, sharing stories that talk about sharing and using those as discussion starters. Give children sample scripts to use in asking for something, as well as for expressing their desire to finish using something. And so it's not always about just as simple as sharing, a toy or whatever. But what if you're using something and someone else wants to use it? How do you get children to understand how to talk to another child about waiting until they are finished and then they can use it? Okay. And then also, helping kids negotiate that sequence for using item. For example, I get it next, then Mary gets a turn. That's a way to talk about that, to use language to help children understand the sharing or ways to share toys, because the language is a big piece of it. And sometimes kids don't know the proper language to use for sharing an item. So what can we do in terms of adult behaviors? Okay, helping children talk through situations when there are, events or something that requires more of a pro-social behavior, or sharing, a mediation, whatever it might be. Giving rational reasons for reactions and compliance. Okay, so helping kids understand their feelings, right, their reactions to things. Keep those high expectations for children to engage in pro-social behavior. Don't let things slide, which goes back to enforcing rules and creating reasonable, age-appropriate rules for the kids. Okay? It's important. These kind of connect together here. High expectations, but still reasonable rules and enforcing those rules. Because once you start to let things slide and don't enforce things one time, and then a couple more times down the road you do, kids pay attention to that and understand that. Okay. So a few things to avoid in these pro-social behavior in the classroom. If you fail to recognize children's efforts to be pro-social, and it's something they're trying to do well or maybe struggling with and trying to improve, if you don't recognize it, then it's going to kind of fall by the wayside. Bringing a pro-social model's behavior to a child's attention through negative comparison or through competition. So we want to be careful not to use that negative comparison, because we're wanting to try to promote positivity, right, in the classroom. So pointing out the positive comparison rather than negative comparison. Forcing children to engage in insincere pro-social behavior. So example of that is making a child apologize for something when they don't mean it, and calling it good or bad. So it might be a case where maybe someone may not apologize for something, but that's okay if you get the child to understand, why the other person's feelings were hurt or whatever happened. And it might be also a case of maybe in a day, they decided they want to apologize, or a day later, whatever it might be. So we don't want to have insincere pro-social behavior forced upon somebody. And then making children share everything all the time. That's not a way to help children understand to wait for something, or excuse me. The reality that we can't have everything exactly when we feel like we want it. So helping children understand that there is a little bit of a waiting component in regards to sharing things. And so in a nutshell, that is the chapter 13 over pro-social behavior. So really getting kids to understand the importance of pro-social behavior. So if we go back to this assignment of watching that children's show. So think about those things that we talked about in regards to pro-social behavior and content, and watch that children's show and see if it really does have a fair amount of pro-social content or behavior, as maybe you thought it did. If it didn't, that's fine, but just share that information with us and tell us what your findings were and what your recommendations might be to change that. Okay. If you have questions on this assignment, please reach out and let me know, or on the chapter quiz. I will touch base with you on class for next week, which is on the 23rd, but the college closes for Thanksgiving at noon on the 23rd. So I will visit with you about that in regards to what that looks like for next week. 3 weeks of classes left, including finals. So if you have missing assignments, please reach out and let me know if you need help. But get those turned in before the end of the semester here. Thank you. Have a good week.